you identify yourself as gay. Why do you then choose, because it is a choice, why do you then choose to be a Muslim when it says explicitly within Islam, within Judeo-Christian tradition, that that is prohibited? It's a choice.
I would just like to say that sexual orientation is not a choice. It's not a choice at all.
It's a choice for you to be Muslim.
But why
so
can't
why
you
would you?
be
No,
Muslim
don't get
still?
involved in this. Why would you choose to be a Muslim? Why would you choose to be a Muslim if in the Quran it says that that is prohibited? It's a choice. At the end of the day, you can choose to be a Muslim, or you can choose not to be.
It doesn't say in the Quran that it's prohibited. What is prohibited is the act.
Surah Al-Araf, I can give you the ayah that it says it in.
I am not here to talk about that one
What would
act.
you
What
do
I
if
am
you
here
were
to talk about.
Let Asif speak, please. Let Asif speak. Let him respond to your question.
I am not here to talk about that one act. What I'm here to talk about is love. Love between two men, two women.
When will it be okay and accepted to be gay in Islam? That is not... It's a loaded question, but I'm sorry. You either be gay or you be Muslim. No one is forcing you to be a Muslim.
I think that is totally wrong.
Yeah, lady here in the blue.
I think that is totally wrong. I mean, I was brought up in an Islamic household. I'm from an Islamic community. I'm from a very conservative Pakistani community. If my mum and dad can accept me, why can't the wider community accept me for who I am?
Yeah. Just lady in the blue, and then we'll come to Nikki.
I personally think that the question you're asking is when will the Muslim community accept you as a gay person, accept gay or homosexuality? The thing is, homosexuality is not accepted in Islam, so the Muslim community will never accept homosexuality in a whole. But you being gay, not on a judgmental level, you can be gay, but then at the same time, if you choose to follow a religion which prohibits homosexuality, then you can't turn around and ask when will they accept for you to be gay.
Can I just say then? Yeah. Can I just say, what are people like me meant to do then? You know, gay teenagers, the suicide rate is going up, homophobic crime is going unreported, and it's because of attitudes like this that is causing people like me such dilemma.
The danger with literalism is in insisting that there is only one interpretation and one way of doing things. If we take that literally, if we take literalism literally, then only 200 years ago, slavery was accepted and justified by religion. Let me finish. The Quran explicitly and literally, let me finish and make this point. The Quran literally allows for slavery, as does the Bible, but we no longer practice it because our attitudes and interpretations have changed. There is no one Muslim community, there is no one way of interpreting things. If he wants to identify as being Muslim, as this gentleman here said, Abdullah, he said he's not going to tell him he's not a Muslim, and I applauded him for that. He said he's not going to discriminate against him. You just did. And so even he disagrees with you. Yes, you did. Everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Bring Tim in here. God does not exclude anyone. That is a crucial first point. And everyone has the right to define for themselves what their identity is. And we all have identities which quite often are contradictory. We all have to find some way of navigating that, of remaining faithful to our vision of God while also remaining faithful to who we are. But to add to that also, the rest of society, in particular the state, should not try to impose its view or its morality upon Islam. This is a conversation that has to happen within Islam,
and there might be room.
There might be room, and that's what it. There might be room for growth and change. Ultimately, you decide for yourself. But the idea of saying to someone, "You're a sinner," even if you do define them as a sinner, you cannot be part of this religion. That to me is anti-God, because that's a decision that God makes, not you, not you.
With regards to what you said about interpretation, you're pushing the idea that there is no true interpretation of Islam. By that exact logic, you're saying that the people, the extremists, right, their interpretation of religion is also valid. There is mainstream Islam. There are things that are universally accepted within Islam. For example, the gentleman brought up the idea of drinking, of doing drugs, you know. Those things are prohibited within Islam. I can choose not to do them, or I can. But for me to go out and say, I'm a Muslim and I drink and that should be accepted, that's not religion. That's not what you're subscribing to.
You're conflating choice and how somebody is without choice. That first of all, he was born the way he is, and I'm sure he can speak for himself. What I would like to say to you is, many Muslims would consider you sinful for not covering your face and would insist that you're sinful and you can't be a Muslim for showing your face and not wearing the jilbab, the long gown. So at the end of the day, this is all interpreted. And just as you've got the right, in fact, they'd also... Please, let me respond to you, please.
No, because you're going into
No,
all
no,
sorts
no.
of
I'm talking
avenues
about
now.
interpretation. Can I just finish my point?
Go ahead, go
They would
ahead.
also say that you shouldn't be speaking in front of men. You shouldn't be on television.
Oh, come
There are
on.
literalists who argue that
is
too. We know that because they're
completely-
empowered.
Let's just go back to...
The Thought Police at Facebook wanted to remove some of Donald Trump's posts, and others wanted to ban him from the platform entirely for what they're claiming is hate speech because of his stance on reforming illegal immigration and preventing Syrian refugees from entering the United States because of the threat that ISIS terrorists will then use that opportunity to infiltrate our country. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that there was a huge uproar within Facebook internally, and that Mark Zuckerberg had to put his foot down and tell the Thought Police that they were not going to ban the Republican presidential candidate from the platform. This from the Wall Street Journal. Some of Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's posts on Facebook have set off an intense debate inside the social media company over the past year, with some employees arguing certain posts about banning Muslims from entering the U.S. should be removed for violating the site's rules on hate speech, according to people familiar with the matter. The decision to allow Mr. Trump's posts went all the way to Facebook Inc.'s chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg, who ruled in December that it would be inappropriate to censor the candidate, according to the people familiar with the matter. That decision has prompted employees across the company to complain on Facebook's internal messaging service and in person to Mr. Zuckerberg and to other managers that it was bending the site's rules for Mr. Trump, and some employees who work within a group charged with reviewing the content on Facebook threatened to quit. If Hillary Clinton wins, none of us are going to be safe to post anything on social media. I will probably be thrown in prison for supposed hate speech violations. The only reason Mark Zuckerberg didn't allow the ban of Donald Trump or his posts to be removed is because he knew that the backlash would be so huge that it would only help Donald Trump, and then we would have Trump being our spokesman talking about the selective censorship of conservatives on the major social media platforms.
Oh, you're gonna hold it? Okay. What do you say to the link between the legality of abortion and safety? Legality of abortion is actually not related to incidence of abortion. There's 12 abortions per 1,000 women in Western countries where abortion is legal. In Latin America, however, there are 32 abortions per 1,000 women where abortion is illegal. In addition...
honey, your numbers are wrong because...
First, don't call me honey. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Next.
Ma'am. Okay, but wait, let's get your numbers right because the
Yes,
incidence
this
of
is from the
abortion here are
CDC
not
and from the
12.
World Health Organization.
No, but that's not, well, it can't be because...
It's 12 per 1,000 women. I'm not talking about per pregnancy. I'm talking about per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44. Per year, there are 12 abortions. Per 1,000
Oh, so
women.
you're including women who are not pregnant? Okay.
Yes, I am, which is
Okay.
how the CDC and the World Health Organization
Let's just
reports
mix up
it.
apples with oranges. Okay, so go ahead now.
No,
So
this
the
is not
question
apples with oranges.
So the question
It's
is
the CDC
that...
and the World Health
So
Organization.
because Mexico has more illegal abortions...
Latin America.
Latin America has more illegal abortions than we have legal abortions. We should continue
No.
legal abortion?
No, there are 12 abortions per 1,000 women in Western countries where abortion is legal. In Latin America, where abortion is illegal, there are 32 abortions per 1,000 women. So women are still getting abortions when they're not legal. Illegal abortions are still happening. Abortions are still happening regardless of illegality. There's no correlation between legality of abortion and the incidence of abortion.
All right, well, I have to look that up. Well,
yeah, you
because
will
the
have to
problem
look
that I
that up.
have
I'm
is how
still
do you know
speaking.
how many percentage of abortion if they're illegal? Where did you get that number?
Ask the World Health Organization and the
Okay.
CDC. The
Okay.
World Health Organization, which gathers information every year from countries all over the world.
And
There's a
people
report
are reporting
online
that I did
from
an illegal
1995 to
abortion. I had an
2008.
illegal abortion. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did, and because those women end up in the hospital, and so you keep rates by the women that end up in the hospital because they've had a botched illegal abortion using a coat hanger.
Okay.
And in the United States, before Roe v. Wade, 5,000 women a year died from illegal abortions. The rate for legal abortions of death in the United States, now that abortion is legal, from a legal abortion, is 0.6 per 100,000. So deaths for women before abortion was legal were very, very high in the United States. And illegality of abortion is related to the risk and dangers of abortion. Legal abortions are safer abortions, much safer
Is there
for
a
women's
question on
lives.
this?
Yes, how do you respond to that?
I
The fact that
respond
women
by
die
saying-
from illegal abortions and not from legal abortions.
I would respond by saying in a civil society, abortion should not be legal.
You also continue with your emphasis on religion.